The person you simply cannot stop thinking about genuinely does care about you. Even if everything between you feels uncertain, complicated, or difficult to understand right now, there is a deeper reason this individual keeps coming back to your mind again and again. It is not accidental. It is not random. It is not happening simply because you are bored, lonely, or emotionally fragile at this particular moment. Something significant continues to keep this connection breathing within your inner world and daily emotions. This person shows up in your thoughts for a reason. Even when you make no conscious effort to think about them, they surface during quiet moments when the noise of everyday life fades and your mind finally grows still. They appear in the small gaps between your ordinary thoughts. In those moments, just before sleep, when your guard has dropped away entirely. Sometimes they enter your mind without warning in the middle of a regular day, while you are simply moving through your routine. You could be focused on a task, talking with someone, enjoying time with friends, or feeling perfectly settled, and suddenly their face rises in your mind without any invitation. Their voice, their smile, or a meaningful memory tied to them surfaces within you without effort. It happens naturally and softly on its own. You may have tried many times to push those thoughts aside. You may have told yourself firmly that it is time to move on, and that continuing to think about them no longer serves any real purpose. You may have reminded yourself repeatedly of the confusion, the separation, or the long stretch of silence that exists between the two of you. At times you may have questioned yourself deeply. You may have wondered whether you are imagining something that is not truly real, or holding on to hope without any solid ground beneath it. You may have asked yourself why they still hold so much weight when nothing between you feels clear or settled. Yet no matter how hard you try to distract yourself with other things, they keep returning to your thoughts. Even when you tell yourself you are completely done with it all, even when you feel grounded and certain for a stretch of time, they remain quietly present somewhere inside you. This is not a coincidence, nor is it a sign that something is wrong with you. It does not mean you are stuck in the past, craving attention, or unable to move forward. It simply means there is a connection that has not been fully resolved within your shared story. It means some emotional truth still exists between you, whether it has been spoken openly or not. Connections like this are not built through logic alone. They are not managed entirely through willpower, no matter how determined a person may be. They form on a deeper level where emotion, memory, meaning, and lived experience blend together over time. When someone keeps appearing in your thoughts without effort, it often suggests that unfinished emotional energy still exists between both of you. Something was felt powerfully, even if it was never fully expressed through words. Something was shared between you, even if it was never clearly defined or properly named. This person may be thinking about you as well, even if they do not reach out or openly show their feelings right now. Thoughts do not always travel through conversations or messages. Feelings do not always make themselves known through obvious actions. Sometimes people carry emotions quietly because they are uncertain what to do with them. They may feel overwhelmed, unsure, hesitant, or afraid of what the future may hold. They may not know exactly how to act on what they feel, so they keep those emotions tucked away for the time being. But silence does not automatically signal the absence of care. Just because they remain quiet does not mean they feel nothing toward you. You may sense them at unexpected moments throughout your day or night. You may suddenly feel a wave of longing, warmth, sadness, or emotion without fully understanding where it came from. You may feel connected to them despite the emotional or physical distance standing between you. This is not always your imagination playing tricks on you. Deep emotional connections often operate beneath the surface in ways that are difficult to explain. They do not always follow predictable rules or expected timelines. They exist quietly while continuing to shape thoughts and emotions in subtle ways. You are not weak for feeling this way. You are simply human. Caring deeply does not vanish just because your mind decides it should. The heart rarely moves on according to a schedule created by reason. When something meaningful touches your life, it leaves an imprint within you. That imprint stays until it has been understood, healed, accepted, or transformed through time. This connection does not mean you should wait forever or place your own growth on hold. It simply means what you felt between the two of you was real. It means the bond mattered. Confusion does not erase love. Silence does not erase emotion. Distance does not automatically mean there is no feeling on the other side. Sometimes distance reflects fear. Sometimes it reflects uncertainty. Sometimes it reflects an internal struggle that another person is carrying privately. You may never receive every answer you seek, or one day those answers may arrive unexpectedly. Regardless of what unfolds, your experience remains valid. The thoughts you carry are not meaningless. The emotions you feel are not without purpose. They are part of a story that touched your heart deeply and changed something within you. If this person continues to live in your thoughts, it may be because something between you has not fully settled yet. That does not mean it must continue forever in the same form. It simply means it mattered more than you realize, and things that truly matter often require time before they rest peacefully within the heart. Be gentle with yourself during this season. Do not judge your thoughts harshly. Do not rush your emotions toward disappearing. Understanding often arrives slowly. Clarity often unfolds naturally through patience. And sometimes the purpose of a connection is not to last forever. Sometimes its purpose is to transform you, offer you valuable lessons, and remind you how deeply you are capable of feeling. Even within confusion and silence, that connection can still carry meaning for both people involved. When someone occupies your thoughts this consistently over a long stretch of time, it often suggests that the emotional cord between you remains active. Even if communication has ended, even if circumstances created separation, even if the silence has stretched far longer than either of you anticipated, your mind is not necessarily holding on to the past without reason. Your heart may be responding to something that still feels unfinished. There is something within the story that never reached a clear conclusion. Human beings are rarely troubled by what feels complete. We are affected most profoundly by what feels unresolved, uncertain, or emotionally incomplete. You may notice that you think about them whenever something positive happens in your life. When you experience a success, a beautiful moment, or something that brings a smile to your face. They may be the first person who enters your mind. You imagine sharing those small details with them. The details may seem minor on the surface, yet they feel deeply significant inside. You wonder how they are doing even when your own life is full and moving quickly. Sometimes the pull you feel is not only toward their presence, it is toward their emotional world, their thoughts, their energy, their inner experience. This kind of pull can arise when two people remain emotionally connected despite distance and silence. What many people fail to recognize is that emotional bonds do not dissolve simply because communication stops. Silence does not erase connection. Distance does not erase attachment that was built over time. When two people connect deeply, that bond leaves a mark on the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind does not operate according to strict timelines. It responds to meaning, emotion, memory, and unresolved experiences. If you are still thinking about them, it may be because a part of you senses that the story is not entirely finished. This also explains why the connection feels so layered. Love that is simple often settles into clarity. Love that feels delayed, distant, or confusing often lives somewhere between longing and fear. One or both of you may fear vulnerability. One or both of you may fear change. There may be concern about reopening old wounds. There may be hesitation about reaching for something that feels uncertain. Fear does not always destroy love. Sometimes it simply delays it. Sometimes it builds distance where closeness is trying to exist. Sometimes it causes people to remain silent, even when their heart longs to speak. And while fear can hold back action, it cannot always erase what is felt deep within. That is why certain connections, continue to linger long after logic says they should have faded away. They remain because they carried significance. They remain because they touched something important within both people. And until that meaning is fully understood, acknowledged, or brought to completion, the connection may keep finding its way back into your thoughts when you least expect it. It tucks those feelings away for a time and creates distance where closeness is deeply wanted, but still feels uncertain or too risky. You may find yourself wondering why, if they truly love you, they have not taken a step forward or reached out in a clear and obvious way. You may question why they have remained silent for such an extended period without offering any explanation. Love does not always travel in a straight line or follow the path people expect it to take. Many people feel deeply but find it difficult to know how to respond to those powerful emotions within them. Some people protect their emotions because of painful experiences from the past. Others carry wounds from earlier relationships that still shape how they think and behave. Some find themselves caught between responsibility and desire within their present circumstances. Some feel undeserving of the love they feel, while others believe they must first heal or grow before allowing true closeness back into their lives. The mind often circles back to what the heart cannot easily settle. That is why this person surfaces in your thoughts when you are peaceful, quiet, or emotionally open without distractions around you. At night, when the noise of the world fades, the unconscious mind often speaks with greater clarity than it does during busy hours. During the day, when your defenses soften and your attention relaxes, the same thing can happen quite naturally. This is not you forcing thoughts into your mind. They rise on their own from deeper emotional places within you. That is an important thing to hold on to. Thoughts that arrive without invitation often rise from deeper emotional layers beneath the surface. There is something else taking place as well. When these memories return and you think about them, you are not only remembering who they are as a person, you are also remembering who you were when you felt connected to them in meaningful ways. Certain people awaken parts of us that stayed quiet or hidden in the presence of others. They reflect something back to us that feels familiar, significant, and very much alive. Losing access to that reflection can sometimes feel like losing a piece of yourself for a time. This is one reason the longing can feel far deeper than simple attraction. Distance between two people who genuinely care for one another often exists not because love is missing, but because timing, fear, circumstances, or inner conflict are standing in the way. You may feel as though something unseen is keeping both of you from drawing closer together. That feeling is often worth paying attention to. When emotions remain active without clear resolution, the mind tends to keep the connection alive until it reaches understanding, acceptance, or closure. You may also move through periods of emotional uncertainty. One day you feel entirely detached and steady, and the next day a small reminder suddenly brings everything flooding back. This back and forth movement is normal. It is part of the emotional process. It often means your conscious mind is working to protect you, while your emotional self remains connected underneath. Those two parts of you do not always move in perfect agreement. Healing does not mean forcing yourself to erase every memory. Healing often means understanding why the connection exists and what it is trying to show you right now. Sometimes a connection lingers because there is an important lesson hidden within it. Sometimes it remains because communication between two people feels unfinished. And sometimes it remains because both individuals are slowly moving toward the same emotional truth, even if they are not ready at the same moment. Emotional timing is rarely perfectly aligned. If you sense that they love you but continue to keep their distance, it may be because they are facing an inner struggle of their own. They may feel the same pull toward you that you feel toward them. They may think about you far more often than you realize. They may wonder whether you still carry deep feelings for them as well. Yet, rather than stepping closer right away, they hesitate. There can be many reasons behind that hesitation. Often, it grows from fear of loss, fear of rejection, or fear of shifting their current circumstances too suddenly. Love does not always announce itself through grand gestures and bold actions. Sometimes it hides behind silence. Sometimes it lives behind thoughtful choices and careful steps. Sometimes it waits quietly for a moment that feels less threatening. Sometimes it watches from a distance, hoping for the right opportunity to move forward without causing harm. A lack of action does not always mean a lack of feeling. What matters most right now is not attempting to control every possible outcome. What matters is understanding what this connection may be revealing about you and your own path. Perhaps it is teaching patience. Perhaps it is helping you strengthen your sense of self-worth. Perhaps it is encouraging you to trust more and pursue less. Or perhaps it is preparing you to receive clarity when the timing is finally right. Whether that clarity arrives through reunion or through peaceful release, your feelings are not foolish. You are not weak because this person often enters your thoughts. You are responding to something that exists beyond simple reasoning and easy explanations. The mind tries to process everything through logic. The heart often recognizes significance immediately. When something truly matters, it rarely disappears quickly. If they love you and distance remains for now, then time and personal growth may be doing meaningful work behind the scenes for both of you. Connections like this often move slowly because they carry genuine depth, and depth requires readiness. Readiness cannot be forced no matter how strongly we wish it could. Allow the thoughts to come and go without judging yourself too harshly. Do not assign excessive meaning to every thought, but do not dismiss them entirely either. Notice how you feel when they enter your mind. Perhaps you feel calm, perhaps you feel warmth, perhaps you feel sadness, longing, comfort, or hope. Every emotion carries information worth noticing. Your feelings are communicating something important to you in those moments. Remember this truth. What is truly meant for you should not require endless suffering. It may require patience, it may require growth, but it should not require you to abandon yourself or set aside your own needs. Whether this connection eventually becomes something real or gradually softens with time, it is shaping you in ways you may not yet fully understand. And if one day the distance closes naturally, it will likely happen because both of you have grown ready to meet, without fear standing between you. Until then, trust that what you are experiencing carries meaning, even if that meaning is not yet entirely clear. When you think about someone repeatedly, when their presence stays in your thoughts from morning until night, there is often a quiet connection operating beneath the surface of everyday life. Many times they may be thinking about you as well, even if they never say it aloud or fully acknowledge it to themselves. They may care about you deeply, even if those words have never passed directly between you. Love does not always reveal itself in ways that are simple to recognize. It does not always arrive through quick action, bold declarations, or confident decisions. Sometimes love reveals itself through patience. Sometimes it appears through waiting. Sometimes it expresses itself through restraint because something precious feels worth protecting. The person you cannot stop thinking about may carry powerful feelings for you. Those emotions may be steady, deep, and significant within them. But feeling love and being prepared to act on it are not always the same thing. Readiness and love do not always arrive together. Someone can care for you with their whole heart and still feel unable to draw closer right now. They may feel undeserving of you. They may believe you are too kind, too whole, or too good for them in their present state. They may fear hurting you because they understand how precious the connection truly is. They may believe the timing is not right. They may feel that life is too complicated at this moment. They may think that circumstances are not arranged in a way that supports moving forward. They may also be carrying old emotional wounds that have never completely healed. Pain from past relationships, disappointments, betrayals, heartbreaks, or losses can remain buried inside for years. Those experiences shape choices even when people wish they did not. They may fear that moving closer could eventually lead to losing you entirely. Because of that fear, they pause. Rather than reaching forward openly, they hold themselves back. Rather than expressing everything they feel, they keep much of it tucked inside. This does not always happen because they feel too little. Sometimes it happens because they feel far too much. The intensity of the emotion overtakes them. When feelings are shallow, people often act quickly without much reflection. When feelings are light, risks seem easier to accept. But when love feels genuine and reaches deep into the heart, people grow more cautious. They begin weighing every choice more carefully. Fear begins whispering questions into their mind. It shapes decisions in quiet ways. When love is casual, people move freely without much concern. They send messages without overthinking. They speak without worrying about outcomes. They step forward without imagining every possible result. But when love feels truly meaningful, when it feels capable of altering everything that matters in life, people naturally slow their pace. They become careful with their words. They become deliberate with their actions. They begin measuring each step because the connection feels too valuable to risk carelessly. And in many cases, that caution is not evidence that love is absent. It is evidence that what they feel matters far more deeply than they know how to express. They become increasingly aware of what is genuinely at stake within the connection. They begin reflecting more seriously on responsibility, impact, and the potential consequences if things are not handled with care and maturity. They start protecting not only themselves, but also the person they hold so deeply in their heart. Many people wonder why distance can persist, even when love feels present and powerful. That distance is not always born from a lack of emotion, affection, or sincere care. More often, it is born from an internal struggle unfolding within them. On one side of their heart, they feel your presence strongly. They sense your importance, your energy, and the place you hold in their life. On the other side, they feel pressure, fear, responsibility, uncertainty, and doubt pulling them in opposing directions. These competing forces create tension inside them. They may find themselves returning to difficult questions again and again about what the future might hold. What if I cannot give them the life they truly deserve? What if I let them down in some way? What if I damage something beautiful that lives between us? What if I have not healed enough yet to move forward in a healthy way? What if my unresolved past follows me into this connection? What if drawing closer creates more complications instead of bringing peace? What if my emotions become too much to manage? What if my fears eventually cost me the one I love? These questions do not rise from indifference. They do not come from a lack of care. They come from caring deeply and recognizing that real love carries weight, responsibility, and real consequences. Because of this, they choose distance as a way of protecting both of you for now. Not protection from you personally, but protection from emotions that feel overwhelming and difficult to carry. They step back not because they do not want you. They step back because they are startled by just how deeply they want you. Sometimes distance becomes the only tool they know for managing feelings that feel larger than their capacity to handle with ease. They may never have learned how to love without allowing fear to take over. They may not fully trust themselves with something that feels this important. They may persuade themselves that staying silent is safer than opening up and risking everything. For many people, silence feels more manageable than vulnerability. Distance feels more secure than full closeness when emotions grow intense. This kind of love can be deeply confusing for the person waiting on the other side. It can cause you to question your own feelings. It can make you wonder whether the connection is real or something your mind has constructed. Yet, genuine love does not always reveal itself in smooth and predictable ways. Sometimes it appears uncertain, hesitant, and cautious about moving too quickly. Sometimes it hides behind logic and practical reasoning. Sometimes it chooses patience over immediate action to avoid regret later. The person who cares deeply but keeps their distance often feels torn inside each and every day. They think about you when they rise in the morning. They think about you before they drift off to sleep. Your name moves through their thoughts during unexpected moments throughout the day. They revisit past conversations in their mind. They imagine what could exist between the two of you. Then fear appears again and draws them back into caution. This constant movement between hope and hesitation can become exhausting for them. Even if you never see that struggle directly, they may believe they need to repair parts of themselves before they can offer love fully. They may feel they need to become stronger, more grounded, or more emotionally secure first. They may believe you deserve someone who is entirely ready for a healthy and lasting relationship. Because of that belief, they step back. They hope that distance will shield both of you from pain. Yet love that is held back does not simply vanish. It remains alive beneath the surface. It continues growing quietly. It waits for better circumstances. And even in silence, it continues to exist. Even through separation, it remains meaningful. Love does not always appear as constant pursuit, daily contact, or clear-cut action. Sometimes it appears as restraint. Sometimes it appears as patient waiting. Sometimes it appears as someone wrestling with their fears each day, while still carrying you within their heart. If you feel this connection deeply, it does not automatically mean your imagination is creating something false. Strong emotional bonds often exist through memories, thoughts, intuition, and the lasting impression people leave on one another. What feels painful right now may not always reflect an absence of love. Sometimes it reflects the gap between what someone feels and what they currently feel capable of expressing. Their inner courage has not yet risen to match the depth of what lives inside their heart. With time, internal conflicts can begin to soften. Fear can slowly lose its grip. Old wounds can gradually mend. As growth takes place, the space between two people may begin to close naturally and in its own time. Until then, distance can function like a quiet shield. It becomes a temporary pause, a chance to breathe, a way to maintain emotional steadiness when caring deeply feels overwhelming to carry. However, that distance may feel especially heavy. It can feel sharp and difficult because you are highly attuned to emotional shifts. You do not experience silence as empty space. You feel it in your thoughts. You feel it in your heart. You feel it during those recurring moments when your mind returns to the same person without effort. You notice the exact moment comfort turns to caution. You notice when warmth becomes uncertainty. You recognize subtle emotional shifts that many people overlook entirely. Yet some of the strongest connections move through long stretches of silence, not because they are broken,